I'm Kyle Clark. This is Next. Today has been a good reminder that breaking news situations are often a mix of information, misinformation, and confusion fueled by concern. Here's what really happened at CU Boulder today. Police at the university got a 911 call a bit after 9 in the morning. They found a guy with a machete threatening people outside the Champion Center. He went inside that building carrying the machete. Police say that he was shot and killed when he failed to follow orders from officers. The suspect's name has not been released. We don't know if he's a student or not. There's an emergency alert that went out to campus, and that certainly got the rumor mill going. And then came the bogus calls, 3 of them, 2 off-campus threats and 1 for the UMC, the student union. Police didn't find anything, but they cleared that building, and it's going to stay closed while police do a more thorough search. So you had the one real threat, the guy with the machete, then 3 instances of idiots making a bad situation worse with crank calls.
That scare is nothing compared to the one along parts of the East Coast right now. There is a real threat there. Hurricane Matthew, which should hit Florida tomorrow. This while a lot of people from that part of the country are headed here for the biggest beer festival in the country, like the woman I talked to today.
I'm the South Florida sales rep for Left Hand Brewing Company.
So it makes sense why Jen Miller just got off a plane at DIA this afternoon. But it is surprising, though, considering the massive storm that's headed in the general direction of her home.
So the hurricane, we saw was coming. They're still kind of unsure where it's going.
Jen posted this photo on Instagram yesterday, about 24 hours before she hopped on that flight.
We decided we wanted to board up our house just in case the hurricane came and hit us.
Boarded up and boarded a plane. The good news, she says, it appears that storm isn't going to directly hit Miami-Dade County, where she lives. And I suppose drinking beer in Denver is better than drinking beer at home worrying.
Yeah, GABF was really great to offer me this refuge from the storm.
And if you think about it,
if the storm hits, it hits. There's nothing I can do. Just board up the house and hope for the best. And getting out of town is always a good option. That way, I'm not straining on resources if there is a real emergency.
Jen says her family is getting out of the area too, just in case that thing makes a turn.
Indeed. In the Caribbean now, escape from the hurricane's path is not always an option, like in Haiti. Our Cheryl Preheim has a personal connection to that island. It's one that she shared a number of times with Coloradans. And after the massive earthquake 6 years ago, she returned to Haiti to help Habitat for Humanity rebuild homes there, rebuild them to better withstand disasters, in part by using hurricane clips to keep the roof on in a storm. Hearing Cheryl talk about Haiti really brings home the dire situation there.
I lived in Haiti for a short time when I was little. My dad taught at a university in Port-au-Prince, so I went to a French-speaking school there. It was amazing to go back as an adult, see the changes, and they were dramatic because it was after the earthquake in 2010 when 250,000 people lost their homes. And we're talking about homes that might have a tin roof, maybe a few concrete bricks as a foundation, not the homes you and I are accustomed to. And all these years later, hundreds of thousands of Haitians never had those houses rebuilt. I see the video of Hurricane Matthew and what it's done to Haiti, and it makes my heart sink because before Hurricane Matthew, the struggles were so deep and so intense for so many Haitians and their families. Before the hurricane, they might have had some plastic over their heads, and to know that there was no place for them to take shelter when that kind of a storm comes through, something we really just can't understand. There's not a basement to go into. You know, they're trying to find a building that's safe enough to house people, but where do you put hundreds of thousands of people? I have this memory of helping the Habitat for Humanity volunteers build the houses. We were in there with our hammers, and the one thing I did for an entire day was hurricane clips. We were hammering these hurricane clips into every one of those Habitat houses, and there were so many of them. And then I watched this video today, and I understand why. And I think about those 100 homes, and those might be some of the only homes in that area of Laogon that might still be standing today because they were fully aware that a day like this could happen. I hope that a lot of help continues in the days to come. They'll need it.
Striking perspective. When was the last time that we talked about the Obama administration's stimulus plan? A whole lot of money got dumped into the economy 5 years ago, and some people got greedy. One businessman from Denver is just now being charged for the stimulus funding business. Michael Rufato's been charged with fraud in federal court. Our investigators on our 9 Wants to Know team explained years ago how he was using tax money to stimulate his own bank account. His power company got about $10 million for a drilling project that was supposed to create dozens of jobs. It didn't create a single job. and Ruffalo pocketed $1 million. Spokesman told a newspaper in Wyoming that he will pay back the money. Not sure if that will be before or after his possible 5-year prison sentence. Quick update on the Beulah Hill fire southwest of Pueblo. Some significant developments today. That fire is now 50% contained, and some evacuees got to go home. And impressively, no additional homes or buildings burned today. A number of frustrated voters who got caucus blocked this year led for a call for Colorado to switch to a presidential primary. For Democrats, it was overcrowded locations that led to confusion, delays, and some people just gave up and left. For Republicans, they ended up with a big steaming pile of apathy because the state party decided not to release an official poll that would count nationwide. So voters will decide in November whether to move to an open primary instead of our caucus.
We've heard that. We've heard that. And that's a very real problem with young families, with kids, with school, with all that. Some of the things that we could look at is how do we again reinvent the caucus? Let's modify it so that it fits what works in today's society. Yeah. But the key here is to have us talking to one another, to talk about what those issues are and what those mean directly, and have that dialogue.
So to Corky's point just there, it isn't putting a man on the moon, it's getting a couple meetings together. So he's just proposed several alternatives to your vision. What's wrong with improving the caucus rather than throwing, you know, as he might put it, the baby out with the bathwater?
If anyone was putting forth ideas and implementing them to expand participation in the caucuses, if there was any data to support that, if there was any trend to support it, if there were more people like Corky, that could be a good idea. But that's not reality. Reality is this tiny, tiny percentage of people attend the caucuses. They tend to be the people who are more conservative and more liberal. They're not representative of all the people in the middle.
So you're actually going to see 2 ballot questions on the primaries. If you really want to nerd out with us on the details, you know we're always up for that, and you can see the entire debate with our political guy, Brandon Riddiman, on 9news.com. While we are politicking, next question. When will the state of Colorado mail out this year's election blue book? Sharon Cox, Watch Next, wanted to know that we're in the business of finding stuff out, and she knows that that famous blue book is online, but some people, you know, like to touch democracy with their bare hands, get tactile. And they are in the mail. Sharon, I got mine in Denver this week. The Colorado Legislative Council says all of them will be in the mail by this Friday. So if you don't see yours in the next week or so, you can call the Colorado Legislative Council or your county election office. Sharon, you can call me personally here at 9 News. I will send you mine, and I'll use the online version. Twitter blew up with the vice presidential debate last night, especially for one poor woman in Boulder who was lucky enough years ago to land the Twitter handle Elaine, just Elaine. Elaine Reddy probably hadn't given much thought at that point to CBS anchor Elaine Quijano. And then last night her timeline was filled with ticked off people who thought that @Elaine was the woman in their TV box. Do your job, @Elaine. You're biased, @Elaine. What a loser, @Elaine. The real Elaine, at least to us, Elaine from Boulder, granted us a 140-character interview today, saying that last night was mainly amusing and interesting to see both sides felt that their candidates weren't treated fairly. It's a hard roll from one Elaine to another. Denver Police Chief Robert White faced off against a tough room of 6th graders. Kids weren't messing around. They had some serious questions for the chief about police brutality, racism, gun violence. These are students at McGlone Academy in far northeast Denver. They have a podcast called Voice of Montbello, and they told us they were kind of surprised when Chief White accepted the invitation to be grilled on the podcast. Chief said he wants to help young people see police officers for who they are instead of just what you read in headlines.
Mostly what they see is the controversial, the negative stuff. And what they don't get to see that 99% of the police officers go to work every single day and do the right thing.
They're planning a march to protest police violence. Chief White says he just wanted the students to hear him out on the issues first. He said he actually applauds their efforts to try and improve the community. If we're asking you to have an honest conversation about race, we ought to be having it ourselves. A win is when I know where you're coming from and you know where I'm coming from and we learn something.
Absolutely. You know, you and I have had some lively conversations about race, and but I've learned from them, and I hope you've learned from them
Absolutely, too. Without question. You're off to a new adventure.
I am.
Yes, we'll tell you what's next for one of our own. They're here for beer. We'll make you smarter about America's largest beer festival of its kind, even if GABF isn't your jam. And she's still at it, a beautiful backdrop for a Coloradan's incredible swim. The Colorado Convention Center is being transformed today into America's biggest bar. Great American Beer Festival starts tomorrow. 60,000 people have tickets. It's put on by the Brewers Association up in Boulder, which happens to employ a doctor. He has a doctorate, not in beer. Not sure that's possible. He's Bart Watson. He's the chief economist of the Brewers Association, and he's about to make us smarter about GABF in 60 seconds.
There are so many things that go on behind the scenes that folks don't know. There's over 4 miles of beer lines here. We've got more than 3,500 kegs of beer across the festival, different kinds of beer, not individual kegs. One of the things that people don't know is there's a competition that goes on behind the scenes as well, with more than 1,700 breweries and more than 7,000 beers. That competition has brewers from all 50 states represented. It's the largest professional beer competition in the world. If GABF were a brewery and you took the production of all the beer that's here, it would be larger than the annual production of 77.5% of the breweries in the country. Visit Denver estimates that GABF has a $28.6 million economic impact on the city of Denver, so it's creating hundreds of full-time jobs throughout the year. Economic impact is not only the spending that we're making on the festival, but the room nights at hotels, all the other beer and food dinners that are happening. We're actually working with an economist from Eastern Oregon University this year to try to capture some of that other spending, because brewers come to town and they do a lot of other things other than just do the festival. So that has a big impact year-round on Denver.
The much advertised cool front is here. See the clouds? Although the snow level is going to stay above the city at 7,500 feet. Do you smell it? The smoke, the haze? It's nasty outside. All part of a controlled burn at the Rocky Mountain Arsenal in Commerce City. Came to an end at 5 o'clock, but the smoke and haze is still nasty outside. Air quality poor. Our high today, 66, will be 10 degrees cooler tomorrow with the front coming in. It's going to bring some snow to the high country. Winter weather and travel advisories are out for the northern and central mountains for up to half a foot of snow above 8,000 feet. Denver will be cloudy and cooler tomorrow with a few light showers in the morning, a few rain showers in the afternoon. I wouldn't cancel any of your outdoor plans, but just be mindful on I-70. You just might run into some slushy roadways up there, especially if you're traveling over some of the higher passes. That winter weather advisory is the area in blue where we do expect the heaviest accumulation, extending from Steamboat down to Crested Butte. Denver, dry tonight until late. Slight chance of a shower after about 11 o'clock with lows above freezing. Compliments of the cloud cover. Tomorrow, mid-50s, chance for showers, and then that's it. Friday looks spectacular, sunny and warmer, and the weekend even better than that. Low to mid-70s. The Broncos will take the field on Sunday afternoon with temperatures above average. Let's hope this is indeed a winning forecast. Later tonight on 9 News, we'll have an update on dangerous Hurricane Matthew.
We're committed to a new kind of conversation about race and ethnicity around here. You know, recently our Jonathan Gonzalez talked about his personal frustration with how that conversation seems stuck. He based it on the angry reaction to our Hispanic Heritage Month coverage. Jonathan said he wanted to talk to people, really talk, one-on-one.
And they called me and they emailed me and I emailed back and we had these conversations. And those are the people I wanted to talk to, right? So you're talking to these people and they don't see eye to eye with you. So my goal was to like get them on my level, so to speak. And so eventually we did. You know, the most interesting person I think I spoke with was a person who happens to be Hispanic. I'm going to read a little bit about what he wrote.
Yeah.
You know, he said, although I'm set in my ways, you probably haven't changed my way of thinking. I respect where you're coming from. We'll just live with the way things are. That's what I got. At least now he understands where we're coming from in terms of celebrating the Hispanic culture and the Latino culture in Colorado.
And do you think you understand where the critics are coming from more so than you did before?
Absolutely. I think that there's a fair argument to be made about how we have to look at ourselves as a nation, as one, right, to unite. But at the same time, I don't think there's a harm in celebrating certain people's cultures.
You and I love mixing it up off the air, in the newsroom, talking about cultural issues, talking about race in America. I think we talk about a lot of the stuff that in many workplaces is taboo.
I think we're genuinely interested, and there's a lack of understanding initially of me to you and you to me, right? So I think we want to learn to understand each other a little bit better. Where are we coming from?
Mutual curiosity.
Yes, absolutely. And so I think that
it's not about agreeing.
No, it's about having the conversation and learning a little bit more. It's about learning about other people and not being ignorant about it, and not being afraid to learn, and not being afraid to be wrong or whatever, or have a misconception, and just talk about it. And I think it's productive, right?
It is productive, and it's illuminating, and it's why we're going to miss Jonathan in the 9 newsroom. It's his last day here. He is moving back to Los Angeles to be closer to his family. He's got a great job coming up at KNBC. Jonathan Gonzalez is going places because he's talented, also because he's humble, hardworking. He's unafraid to tackle those tough issues. Jonathan, best of luck. Us? We aren't going anywhere. We're glued to the map, watching a Coloradan pull off something amazing. More than 30 hours in the water. Hey Next Nation is squarely behind Sarah Thomas. And y'all might just want to pock on the couch and learn about accents and why fish have them. Sarah Thomas is still swimming. We told you about her last night. She's the woman from Conifer who was swimming 81.8 miles nonstop on Lake Powell along the Utah-Arizona border. We checked. Sarah's still at it, has not stopped since yesterday morning. Her family sent us this striking photo. Her incredible effort in the water framed by an equally incredible sunset reflected on the rocks. Her mother-in-law tells us that Sarah had a tougher time swimming through the pitch darkness in the canyons last night. She's navigating back and forth along this route. And today she's been struggling with strong headwinds. Sarah's a little over 2/3 of the way there. It's a little tough to picture. Think about it like this. So she's swimming nearly 82 miles in open water. That's longer than a trip from Denver to Copper Mountain. She does not have a wetsuit to keep her warm. She's only wearing a regular swimsuit, earplugs, goggles. And the water temperature in Lake Powell is about 71 degrees right now. USA Swimming says ideal temperature for swimming laps is 78 to 82. So we know that Sarah's chilly at this point. Ideally, she'll be done tomorrow afternoon or evening. Talking fish aren't just for your uncle's cabin wall anymore. We were captivated to learn today that scientists are studying the languages of cod. Researchers say the cod species is highly vocal. They make different sounds in different areas, just like birds, bears, other animals. The scientists had to bug the ocean to find out. They use underwater microphones. So it turns out that cod use language for the same reason that college students do, to find possible mating partners. Now, before you get all angry that your tax dollars are paying for this research, we should tell you it's a project of the British government. The Brits want to know how human-made noise affects things under the sea.
Sound is a really important sense for fish. They can't see very far underwater because light doesn't travel very well. And at night time, obviously, sound travels very long distances. A lot of our own noise is competing with these natural soundscapes and sometimes dominating them. So a lot of the work that we do now is really thinking of ways that we can manage noise pollution to give fish more chance to be able to live out their lives as they're used to doing.
That British researcher was so confused to get a call from a show named Next in Denver, Colorado. The researchers found that cod in U.S. waters have this deep thumping sound when they talk, American cod. Norwegian cod, higher pitch sounding. Very interesting. Watch out, white stuff is coming. Do drive slowly in the snow. If you're playing local TV snow bingo, you just filled in a couple of spots. If not, we'll play together next. First Snow TV News Bingo is underway. You can watch local newscasts and win. Every time someone unleashes a cringeworthy cliche of the season, you talk about the white stuff, offer some inane driving tip like you don't know how to drive in snow, or telling you to winterize your sprinkler as if you plan to leave it on and create ice sculptures year-round. You can still play along by printing out your snow bingo card on the Next Facebook page. And viewers have come up with a ton of great suggestions to expand our bingo card. David talked about the run to the grocery store. A number of viewers said, ooh, add wintry mix. A few people talked about patio furniture. We'll be filling a second card pretty soon. We're playing snow bingo all season long. Bird on a bird on Twitter. Kyle Clark just said caucus block on TV. This is the best day. It's not the best day. Lon asks, are you going to the beer fest? I am.